Have you ever thought that everyone is a liar? Everyone lies, everyone is deceptive, everyone cheats, everyone steals. Not quite true, but there is this nagging feeling that when you're talking to some people, they are lying to you. Here is where that comes from. And it's very, very interesting when you think about why people would do such a thing. I say it's not on purpose, and most liars don't lie on purpose. It's not something that is deliberate. Let's peel back the layers here. Here's what it comes down to. When you are talking to someone and you ask them a question, they feel compelled to answer. They have a need almost to answer when a question is asked. Rather than stop and pause and think through the answer in a very straightforward and logical way, what happens is that person emotionally reacts. And the words that come out are merely a reflection of an emotion, something like a flight or fight situation. It's like I've got to run, I've got to go, I'm held here. What do I do? Oh no. Or it might be like anger, right? Crazy, nutty anger. But what's happening is that there's some emotional reaction that occurs with almost every single question. I do believe that most people who are liars don't go into a situation and lie on purpose, deliberately lying, especially the kinds of lies that are very deep and very deceitful. And I think the reason for that is that people deceive themselves first. They go into a situation with good intentions for the most part, or no intention at all. But when they are thrust into that situation, what happens is a question immediately triggers them and they're caught, they're frozen, they're uncertain, they're anxious, there's frustration, there's just something going on where there's a reaction. So it's not proactive, it's reactive. And so if you ever feel like someone is lying to you, it's almost as if you need to pause and think about that particular component, the feeling. If you feel like they're actually deceiving you, if you feel like they are lying to you, it is a feeling. Otherwise, you would just know that they are not telling you the truth. And that's very interesting. It's a gut feel, and that's because it's a gut reaction by the other person. Putting that together, there is an emotional response that people have to an emotional response, right? So the emotional response is from the other person. You ask a question, and it's meant to be straightforward, meant to be logical, not meant to be deceptive. It might even be said with a smile. Hey, it might be something that's really wonderful and positive. It might just be chit chat. Hey, how's the weather? It could be something that's very straightforward, and it's not meant to antagonize. It's not meant to stump the chump. There's nothing to it. Instead, it's meant as just a question, maybe even a throwaway. But the other person can't very often respond straightforward and in a logical way. Instead, they feel the emotion first, and at that point, then the words come out. And it could be milliseconds, it could just happen extremely fast. Then the words come out, and then they trap themselves into a line of reasoning based on the emotion, which is way off base. The emotion is so far from the truth of reality, the objective reality, the real world around us, around that person, around the other person. So it's a straightforward question. There's an emotional response. The emotional response is driving the logical, straightforward mind, but it's running wild. And so the words that come out don't match up with the truth that's inside that person. This is profound. Because what it means is something that is very objective, very logical, can turn into something very illogical, something very emotional between you and the other person. And in the mind of the other person, the emotions are maybe they're not running wild or they're not running crazy, but there is emotion driving the reaction, driving the words that are coming out of the mouth of the other person. You as the person who asked the question, you as the individual like observing this, like, hey man, what's going on? Is we all have BS detectors. So we can all listen to someone and we can kind of tell, are they being deceptive? Is something right? Something doesn't quite seem perfect. It's not quite perfect. And if it's not quite perfect, we notice those subtle differences. Sometimes it's the words, sometimes it's the eyes, the eyebrows, sometimes it's a lack of something like a smile or a head turn. Sometimes it's just the dilation of the pupils. Sometimes it's the speed of the response. Humans are exceptionally good at picking up on the smallest little differences. And we deny that. We deny that animalistic power that we have, but we all have it to a lesser or greater degree. And I believe that that's where some of the mystical powers come from. It's just super hyper attuned, natural, animalistic sensation that we have, picking up on the smallest of cues. And as a result, that means it's emotional. So the other person doesn't mean to lie, but they are. And then you pick up on the vibrations, the frequency, you pick up on the subtleties, you pick up on the things that aren't quite right. You know it. And it's like, I don't trust this person. So that's where things get interesting, is that you have not just the BS detection, like, something's wrong, but your level of trust in the other person can go up and down, not based on what they say, but based instead on what they are saying, the activity of saying, of speaking, of exchanging ideas back and forth. That activity, that process, you can pick up on things that are happening in the mind of the other person, the emotions in the other person. Even if that person seems to be, cold as ice, you can still pick up on those subtleties, and that gives you a vibe. It tells you if you're on the same wavelength as that person or not, just the feeling of it. And if you're listening to me right now, you know that I'm speaking the truth. I'm thinking through the subtleties of the subtleties, right? I'm thinking through and working through the details. And while I am very, very clinical about it and very empirical about it and very precise about it, there's still some emotion there. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but if you've seen any of these other videos on the Rhodes Brothers channel, sometimes I'm like wild and crazy and I'm doing stuff like that. Sometimes it's almost like I'm acting. I'm not. It's the energy that I have at that point in time for that particular topic, and it could be the day of the week, time of the day, it could be a number of factors. But you can feel the different energy, not just because of my hands whipping around or gyrations or me doing things. Some of it is very straightforward in terms of just my tone, just my whoa. If I lean in, if I come back, there's so much that's happening as you're watching this video, but I'm coming through as being very trustworthy. I have nothing to gain from trying to explain what I'm explaining. So there's this almost impossibility of lying because I'm going through things very mechanically. I have not been challenged. There's no one saying, "You're wrong, John. You're wrong." Now, you might be doing that right now, and I think that's amusing and awesome. But let's face it, I'm explaining something that's very straightforward, very clear in my mind. And because it's clear in my mind and my emotions are very still, like the surface of a pond that hasn't been disturbed. There's no disturbance, there's no weird energy, positive or negative, right? Sometimes we end up being deceptive because we're too energetic. Other times we are deceptive because we're trying to suppress. And it's like, dude, what are you hiding? So we have that going on as well. In this situation, you know exactly what's going on. There's a particular topic that we're going through here together. I appreciate you, but we're going through this together in such a way where you can see and picture in your own mind those situations where you've interacted with someone, and now you can pick up on those things in the future as well. So there's great value in understanding this, understanding the emotions in the other person, understanding your own emotions, how questions can cause a trigger, can cause the emotional activation in another person. That causes a lie, creates deception, and then it snowballs because they're trying to maintain, a semblance of, truth. But it's very difficult because if they started lying, they keep lying, and that is not a great thing. So that's the topic of today. And I believe that you can use this for your own marketing, right? Interpersonal, one to one, for your selling, right? The interactions that you have with other people. And certainly you can do it to improve your relationships with other people. You can be more empathetic, as in listen more, right? When you ask questions, even if it's a question that's very, very soft and easy, it's like, hey, how's it going? You can give the other person the space that they need. You can ask the question slower. You can be less aggressive about how you're asking the question. And as a result, the other person need not act or react emotionally, at least not as much. So you're more likely to get them comfortable and get a less emotional or less deceptive type of answer back from the other person. Your calm will transfer to the other person. And that's something a lot of people don't ever really think about. If I'm wild and crazy and then I talk to other people in the wild and crazy state, sometimes that can be fun, it can be energetic, I could be at a concert, I could be out with the boys, we could be doing some kind of fun activity with the family, whatever. And then that energy is going to be positive, but it can still be kind of crazy and wild. On the other hand, if I just met you for the first time and I came in all wild and crazy and you'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. And that would put you back on your back foot. You'd be like, wait, what? And it's likely that you'd be very reserved and not tell me the whole truth to an answer. Critical, because that's a lie of omission, not a lie of commission, but you've left things out because I deer in headlights, asked you some questions and stopped you because my energy was too high, and as a result that could stop you in your tracks. Now you know that, and hey, it makes sense to take a deep breath. Because if I take a deep breath before I talk to someone, it's going to calm my mind. If my mind is calm when I talk to the other person, they're less likely to yell at me. They're less likely to lie to me. Think about that. It's pretty crazy. If you want someone to tell you the truth, it's better to be in a state where you're calm and open and reserved, and you're empathetic as well. Even if they're the most horrible person ever and you want to get the most truthful answer, not necessarily the 100% truth, but you want the most truthful answer, you being calm is more likely to get a truthful answer from the other person. Likewise, if you are really excited about something, create a space, create sort of a third space between you and the other person, sort of build it and have fun with it, but make sure that it's been built before you crazy jump into it. So you have almost like an agreement with the other person. An example of that is if you've ever been to a comedy show, they start off slow and then they start bringing in different elements, different stories. They talk about the family. It's never about you. You're not the idiot, right? You're not the fool. They're not making fun of you, or if they are, it's usually further along in the set that they're doing. It's not early on. They bring you into the third space first. They bring you into that space first, and then it's very calm, and then they can go crazy and wild. They don't start that way. In any event, if you can calm your mind, if you can take that deep breath and then talk to just about anyone, wild and crazy all the way down through, a child, you're likely to get a more truthful answer from that person. You're more likely to get the response that you want by having a calm mind, taking the deep breath, and going into things and making sure that you're getting less of an emotional reaction and more of a logical reaction. Now, sometimes you do want a very, very emotional reaction because you're both amped up. You're jacked up, amped up. It's very high energy. That could be like a sporting event, and you and a teammate are going wah wah wah, and you could hear my cadence change. You could feel the energy increase because I was thinking about sports that I have played over the years, and when I think about those sports, or even watching my family engaged in sports, I start to get amped up and jacked up as well. You probably are the same. That's a different topic for a different day. Okay, that being said, I appreciate you, appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to this. Hit the like button if you would. Subscribe to the Rhodes Brothers channel. If this resonates with you and you would like to share this breakthrough with a friend or colleague, please do share it, because it's from word of mouth referrals like yours that this channel grows. And we want to grow the tribe. The more that we can get the word out, the more that we can all benefit. Leave a comment below, right? We also have some great material in the description. If you'd like to find out more about this and related topics, definitely check out the description. Again, John S. Rhodes of the Rhodes Brothers. This is Greater Wealth Through Mastery. We will see you in the next training. Thanks and take care.